Welcome back to the On Adventure podcast. I'm Josh Self, and I'll be your host. My guest today is Owen Hayden. Owen comes recommended from one of the advisors within our firm, and I really enjoyed the conversation with Owen as we talked through his experience as a high-level athlete through high school and into college, and then how that changed to a short professional career, taking him around the globe. And then he used those experiences and the resilience and grit that he learned from pursuing hard things to still implement that in his adult life. And it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed hearing his experiences and how he's connected with people all around the world and what he's looking forward to next. So without further ado, here's Owen Hayden. All right, Owen Hayden, welcome to the On Adventure podcast. We're 15, 20 minutes into our conversation already and just now getting to the recording part of this, but helps me get a little bit of a background on your history and where you come from. But you and I met because of our mutual friend, Michael Zeblo, and I've been looking forward to this conversation. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me.
Yep. So you're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you are not a professional explorer or adventurer for your day job. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Although some people think it is. Some people think it is, but they just don't take enough PTO.
I got you. Yeah, very good. So it sounds like you take full advantage of the PTO that's given to you.
Yeah, I can. I think I spent almost 10 years working at the same Fortune 500 company. And a lot of times as I was climbing the proverbial ranks, I was getting managerial positions and getting promoted and getting opportunities. And of course, with that comes the sacrifice of, sometimes working those extra hours. So I think for a while I was kind of a, slave to the corporate mantra, but I loved it. I bought into it and they took really good care of me. And until I got to the point that I was, starting a family and getting married and trying to have kids, that my priorities might have shifted just a little bit to just find a better balance. So yeah, my wife and I love to travel. We really don't spend our money on anything other than that, but we definitely like to travel and just got back from hiking in Montana. So highly recommends, quick plug, Glacier National Park. If you've never been, everyone talks about it, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's some heavy, strong hikes you got to go on. You got to make sure you have good equipment, but man, it's beautiful up there.
Did you do any overnight hiking or was it all just day trips?
It was day trips, and we actually put a lot of hours into the car just because the East and West glaciers so spread out. Whether you're in Kalispell or Montana, you're about 20, 30 minutes to get into the entrance to the park. And sometimes, the park can be very busy and you have to have a pass every day. And they try to limit the amount of people in, which makes sense so that you get to experience it and you're not, tearing it up too much, things like that. So we didn't do any overnight. We saw a bunch of campgrounds, but we had the little one with us. So we had him strapped up on my back or my wife's back up and down the mountain. So a lot of teamwork.
Yeah, a little rucking while you're at it.
That's right. That's right.
So boy or girl?
So boy, Maverick, he just turned 9 months old.
That's a great name.
Absolute stud. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We came to that decision together actually in the hospital. We had two names and Maverick was on my number one list and pretty much every list I had. So I was hoping that we would come to that consensus, but we did. We love him. He's awesome, man. We feel like we got a trick baby. Actually, he was sleeping in earlier today because he had a little sniffle last night, but he gives us a lot of sleep. He's so easy to deal with. He loves daycare. He gets along with all the kids. So we're very blessed. God blessed us with a beautiful baby boy.
Were you a laid back kid?
Man, my mom would say absolutely not. I would tell you sometimes I loved. I'm the youngest of four, two older brothers and oldest sister. So a lot of fun.
How close in age?
So we're all 2 years apart. So Noah,
yeah.
Parker, Cameron, and then Owen's the baby.
So plenty of fighting as you were growing up?
We went at it as kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was not the tallest, but I was the strongest. So all my brothers, if you're listening to this, you're welcome. They were basketball guys. I was a football guy. So we absolutely went at it growing up, had a blast, loved doing everything together. And because we were all a few years apart, we could kind of hang out with the same friend groups and that big brothers could take care of me, beat up on me a little bit. So some really good memories there.
That's cool. So, but you were starting to say you were not a laid back, easy going kid, just high energy. Lots
High
of,
energy, every constant activity. I mean, shout out to my parents for doing it with four and baseball and practice and piano and recital and church and camp. And I mean, with one of them, we feel like we've now just got into a good routine at 9 months old. And
mhm.
she's already talking about more along the way. So we definitely want a big family. But yeah, I was crazy. I was all over the place. I just love playing outside. I think a lot of times have changed, but we want, a neighborhood for our children one day where, you can just run around in the backyard and tell it's time to come in for dinner. You
Yeah.
think about like your neighbors and getting to know them and that kind of thing and, serving your community. I grew up in a neighborhood like that in Raleigh called Brookhaven. That was awesome.
Oh
And
yeah.
we just had so many kids running up and down the street, super safe, felt great, could stay with whoever. So we feel like that still exists in certain places, but that's the type of community we want, and that's the type of environment I grew up in. So I was all over the place, absolutely all over the place. I was a banshee, but it helped. Two brothers and I, we all had some form of athletic scholarship, be it basketball or baseball, or football. So, all those trainings and practices and camps paid off.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk through with you was this idea of, as I was telling you earlier, like I love these stories where people put themselves in situations where they choose to suffer. And
Right.
the idea of why do we do that as a human species? Why do we do that when, what is the reward on the other side of that? So as you're, I'm curious if you would kind of keep pulling on the thread of your growing up years of where did you see that start? What were the things that you were involved in, or the challenges, or even traumatic events, anything that happened that were kind of pivot points as you think back on those early years?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. There were definitely a couple. I think about just being faced with challenges and adversity in life and choosing very quickly at a young age, whether it's basketball coaching and you're running, a sprint and you're tired, right? To keep doing it because you want to be in the starting five.
Hmm.
Or first in fitness and you're running a race, you're running a mile as fast as you can because you want to say like you're the fastest, you're the most in shape. I think as humans, we're all born with the inherent desire to, be at the top or compete or be recognized, and why we might be scared to get out on a big stage and put ourselves out there when we do it behind the scenes or in a backyard or we run a race or we win or something, we get that feeling of exuberance. So I would say like that's created or been manifested in me at a young age from wanting to compete with my brothers. And then you throw on top of that in my middle school years, losing a family member, a
Mm.
parent, and being in a situation where everything's kind of ripped out from underneath you, and being surrounded by the church that helped us get through the grieving period, but also like how to move on. So facing adversity always became like a family theme of ours for
Yeah.
a really long time. And a couple family Bible verses, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know that I have plans for you, says the Lord, plans to give you a hope and a future, plans for you to prosper. So no matter what is kind of thrown your way, kind of still believing in that, I think kind of helped produce that attitude of perseverance and playing, competitive sports, right? And just wanting to be that starter, that captain, that guy on the field that people look to make a big play in a, fourth quarter situation. So I'd say that's kind of where I've gotten that motivation from. And then just always, I think my mom did a really good job at a young age of making me be in public speaking forums, making me present, making me do things because I was homeschooled. Everybody
Mm.
gives me grief when you talk about it. But it's kind of funny. I was homeschooled and then I went to public school and then I went to private college and kind of excelled in all of those areas and a lot of those testing metrics. So I've kind of experienced it all to be able to say, I understand why people talk about this being a different type of education than this, but all forms can work with the
Yeah.
right application, I think. But suffice it to say that that created a mindset of me like having to compete. Like I had to maintain grades for my scholarship. I had to maintain grades to stay on the football field. I had to maintain grades to stay out of the doghouse at home,
Hmm.
right? So all of those things I think kind of created the idea of wanting to have some grit and tenacity when faced with adversity. And then it kind of segued over into my career, honestly. So I got out of school, had a chance to go overseas and play football in Australia for a year, which was an amazing experience with one of my teammates, Harry John, and two teams, the Monash Warriors and the Curtin Saints. So Australia has kind of like a semi-pro professional league called Gridiron Australia. they recruit players from all over the world to come help them play, coach, spread, right, education, love, and the competitive level of the game. So getting able to do that for a year was incredible. The people over there were insane. They were so nice. I still have friends that I talk to and want to go see sooner than later, but great place to go if you've never been. And they love sport over there. So gridiron, our
Hmm.
football is massive. Aussie rules is massive. Rugby and cricket and things like that, but just really, really good people. So got me over there, got me back. My football coach from Averett, Max Roach, had just started working at this company called ADP. And I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what it stood for. I had no idea anything. And he was like, "You'd be really good in sales." And I was like, "Well, you've been yelling at me for like 5 years when you were trying to recruit me from where you're trying to get me to come play for you, to be a part of the football program, which I love to death. And he's a big brother to me." So I took the job, and 9.5 years later, I was still there. I'd held multiple positions. I'd been promoted to management. I'd been middle level VP of sales for the Carolinas, and I loved it. I loved the people. And I would always leverage these types of analogies when trying to motivate folks, right? Whether it was Jocko, whether it was Goggins, whether it was, something Elon Musk had said, or an athlete, or we had the Olympics that had come through, and just perseverance and grit, right? And what happens when your feet get held to the fire, right? Do you respond, or do you kind of shrivel up? So long story short, really long way of saying that's kind of how I got to where I am and where I really feel like no matter what circumstances are presented to you, personal or professional, it's all about your mindset. And I'm a big mindset guy. And if you look at something as an opportunity to get better, you look at something as motivation to improve your results, then I think that's where, you produce that grit and that perseverance that ultimately gets you over the edge.
Yeah, so there's a lot there that I want to pull on. And the mindset is something that has just continues to surprise me just personally. There was something I heard recently, a study that was done comparing the efficacy of medicine, right? And what was amazing is what people believed that the medicine was doing was more impactful than what the medicine actually did. Meaning, even if
Sure.
they got the placebo, they still had positive effects if they had been told and believed that they were getting the medicine that was helping them.
Wow.
And yeah, and again, like that is amazing that the human brain can do that and have that kind of result inside of our body. And but what I have also seems apparent to me is that people don't, well, maybe some people do, but most people don't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to have a good mindset, right? I mean, you just went through maybe 20 or 30 years of your life, one thing after the other, that got you to this point of being able to say, hey, mindset's a big thing and I'm all about it, right? So, and I would imagine losing a parent at an early age is one of those things that, I mean, if it doesn't crumble you, it puts a steel rod in your back
Yep.
that can't be bent. And so none of us would ever want that for anyone to experience. But when you do have that kind of trauma, it can give you a grounding that can be a launching point. And I hear that in your sports side of your life that you were able to go into hard things when other kids maybe crumbled because they hadn't experienced really hard
Yep.
things, right? You had
Yep.
experienced a really, really hard thing. So, running extra sprints or finding that extra gas in the end of the fourth quarter, that's nothing, right?
Right.
So, but I also think you probably had to have special people at special times in your life along the way to call that out in you. So you mentioned your college coach, but talk to me a little bit about anybody else that comes to mind that you look back on and say, man, if they hadn't been there at that time, I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the coaching side is very, very strong just because it was a natural father figure for me. I had my siblings, I had other folks, but I was surrounded by sports, and that was kind of how I coped. So, man, my middle school basketball coach, Schmalfeld, Daniels Middle School. I mean, talk about old school mentality, like roll the ball down the court, two guys, get it however you possibly can and get it back to me. Like, I'm talking old school Hoosiers vibes, but like the biggest heart and the biggest, like, if you prove to me that you're trustworthy, that you're going to be where you're supposed to be, in the area on the court playing, running the plays the right way, like I'll do anything for you. So we went from like, beginning of the year tryouts, being all over the place to just like a absolute machine. And that's why we just cranked out conference championships back to back to back. And he was also the football coach. So it bled over really, really easily. But he had all these sayings and he had all these chants and he had all these like, he was like a real life, just macho middle school PE coach personality. He wore the short shorts no matter the temperature outside. He'd bike to school every day. I mean, this guy was a legend.
Oh my
This
gosh.
guy, this
I can
guy's
actually picture him.
this guy's giving off like Chuck Norris Hulkamania vibes. But he would teach us just so much like life lessons about teamwork and working hard and like being as strong as the weakest link on the team. And we would be doing like gassers and push-ups and he'd be teaching us facts about life and then he'd ask somebody to try to memorize it so he could say it again at the end of the practice. And of course nobody ever would. You're doing push-ups, you're a middle school kid, you don't remember the 1967 Southeast Conference championship score, right? Like, but he just wanted you to prove that you could use your brain under duress in complicated situations.
Oh,
So when it
wow.
was like fourth quarter and we were
Yeah.
down, we would respond well. So Schmalfeld for sure. One of my best friend, Joe Branch's dad, Jim Branch, had a Fellowship of Christian Athletes branch that was also at Daniels Middle School at the time. And it would be like right before practice, right after school. And that got me really, really plugged in with like Young Life and FCA. And I grew up in a religious home, in a Christian home, but getting way more plugged in with that, especially after the loss of a parent, definitely helped. So he was a huge father figure for me, getting me in the Word, getting me in Bible study, making sure that I had a good head on my shoulders. He went with me to Averett. I was interviewing for the final scholarship that I got to, so just kind of like being a guiding light for me. Absolutely, for sure. And then some of the other coaches and just like Bible study leaders and members of the community, my mom, absolutely keeping the family together. And then like my older siblings in a lot of different ways were rocks for me. I was always the social one. They were the introverts, but they would always, check in and make sure that I was doing all right. And if I had any issues or anything, like I knew I could always go to them. So those are definitely some of the big people that helped, motivate me and just always challenged me. Like I was a captain on the football team my senior year, and we had a tough season. And we had for a lot of different reasons. And we had a lot of just tough conversations internally and in the locker room and, players only and coaches and players. And the head coach would always, just challenge me, right? He'd just be like, hey man, like I don't care how bad your day's going or how bad your individual practice was, like as a team, if we're not getting better, like that's on you to challenge people because you're leading by example. You're showing people how to do all the things and go to class and be at workouts and be first in line and lead by example, but you got to pull them with you, basically was what he was saying. So some tough conversations there, but I look back at them now anytime I face a minuscule amount of adversity and I'm like, dude, this is nothing,
Yeah.
right? Like we're all in, our careers and our lives, and we want to be the best, back to the messaging earlier. But I also think it's really important to sit back sometimes and be like grateful for how far you've come. And that doesn't mean you should get complacent by any means, but you should also be grateful for how far you've come and the blessings that you do have. And I think that's helped me a lot. So I'll be able to impart that on Maverick as he starts to play sports, which I can't wait for. But definitely going to be a huge part of his life as well.
Yeah, now Maverick is your 9 month old. You put a football in his hand yet?
Oh yeah, he's gotten multiple now. I see the
Put it in the
Carolina
left
polo.
hand. Those
Yeah, we got
lefties are a little better.
we're trying to figure out. He likes both hands right now. I see
Okay.
the Carolina polo. We got a Carolina family and an NC State family over here. So
All
we
right.
have some serious household rivalries going. So he's already gotten an NC State plush football from one of the
Okay.
uncles. And then my wife's an ECU grad, so we got that in the mix, kind of biting at our heels. But
Yeah.
he's definitely had that. He's got the little ball that he runs after and crawls after on the floor. He's pulling himself up. He's in a push-up position already at the gym. We love that. We love seeing
Yes, there
that.
you go.
But it's going to be cool. We talked about it, like letting him play whatever he wants to
Yeah.
versus, forcing him to do something that I want him to do. Of course, I
Do you
want him
think
to
that'll
play
be
football.
hard for you? Like your personality or your hopes or goals for him? Do you think that'll be hard for you just to sit back and let whatever happens happen?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be hard for me. I think I will want him to pursue all sports like wholeheartedly until he
Yeah.
decides that he likes one over the other. But if he just doesn't want to play sports, then he's not playing video games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going outside first, back to what I talked about, to do capture the flag, to do, whatever, before he comes inside to do that kind of stuff. So I will encourage it, absolutely. I will really, really encourage him playing what I call like the major, like baseball, basketball, football. But if he comes out and is like, dude, I want to play lacrosse and I'm really good at it, and we have to travel and do a bunch of lacrosse tournaments, you know, as long as he gets some looks in college, I'll be happy
Yeah.
and I'll support it for sure.
Cool. So your years in college, I'm curious how the, the transition from captain of the football team your senior year, you've got people looking to you for leadership. Then you go to college, granted on scholarship, but you're maybe a small fish in a little bit bigger pond. Or were you? Or did you go in and you were still an alpha on the team, or did you have to play a different role when you got there?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say a different role and then earning the ability to be one of the leaders. There were definitely some studs, and what people don't realize is no matter what level of collegiate sport you go to, the window shrinks drastically, and the amount of people that bottleneck and don't make it to play the collegiate level from high school, is far greater than the amount of people that do. So no matter what level you're playing at, there's always going to be strong competition, and it's the best of the best that have just made it to the next level. So there were definitely some studs and some people that I learned a lot from, some people that I tried to emulate my game after. Another slot receiver, Anthony Scolini, who was like another uncle on the team. He kind of like paved the way for that role, and the way he played the game and the way that he was just a grinder. You think about an Edelman or a Welker or a
Hmm.
Cooper Cup right now, right? Like that was the type of ball that he played. So I loved fashioning my game after that and trying to get stronger in the weight room and trying to get quicker out of my breaks and trying to read coverages better. So yeah, I would say for sure there are definitely studs on the team. We had some All-Americans, we had plenty of all-conference and academic all-conference folks, and some guys that were just athletic freaks, and some guys that went on to play like I did or played Canadian League or in European Football League. So yeah, you definitely had to earn your keep and you definitely had to, but it just made you more competitive. Like in the spring when we were doing all of our training and you watch all these hard knocks and these shows and all these mini camp things, right? Like my wife makes fun of me because I reminisce at a much different level, right? Like those locker room conversations, those coaches conversations, making the freshmen, sing songs or do awkward things, and not a hate, you can't say the word hazing anymore,
Right.
but and initiation.
Yeah.
Those are really core memories to me that made me who I am. And I hate the fitness tests and the 3-a-days and those types of things, but I miss those locker room moments with the boys. We had a really cool one just after big victory, but we had a really cool one in Australia, and we were driving back from the Vic Bowl and we were on a charter bus for like 2 hours just celebrating, basically like winning like the championship for that state area. So for the state of Victoria, which was just an incredible moment. And then just being in the locker room with the boys. Like I definitely miss those. I'm on the alumni board. I try to stay involved. They're doing a lot of regentrification to Danville and building a casino and a resort and a hotel close to the campus, which is going to help with a lot of things. But I try to get up there once or twice a year still and help people. I've spoken to the football team and some of their recruits about why I chose Averett. And I love doing those kind of things because it just gives me a chance to give back.
So that kind of connection, though, in sports is unique, and I think a lot of men and women, but maybe more particularly with men. I don't know if that's true, but it seems to be the case that when the day comes that you can no longer play the sport, which that day comes for all of us, and that identity is no longer there, and the guaranteed community is no longer there. I think it's hard. Like it was hard for me. I've seen other people struggle to find a replacement in the real world. So how have
Yep.
you done that? What has been the way that you've stayed connected either through with other men or a larger community that has a purpose. Football teams have a purpose. You're there to work as a team and to win and to achieve. Where do you see that playing out in your life now?
Yeah, so I'll start this off by saying it's not a cult for the people listening that think that CrossFit is a cult. It is not a cult, but it is a community. And I met my wife there. And she's from Raleigh as well and grew up here. We had a lot of the same friends, but never thankfully met her in college, or we probably wouldn't be together because I was a jackleg. But we met at the gym. She coaches at the gym. I've coached at the gym. We love it. It's right down the road from us. Maverick's a part of it. Our puppy runs around in the back. It is truly a community. So we love the people there. We love the challenging workouts that we do. We love the life events that we've experienced through these different people. And it gives me the competitive atmosphere and the locker room vibe with some of the guys there, with
Sure.
the rest of the families that have young kids there, that they do a great job of making it possible to work out and have people help and hold and push around. So that became my like that filled the gap that I had from the programming and the weight training and the athletic endeavors that football gave to me. And that kind of bled over into triathlons and marathons and Ironmans. So my wife's done two. I've done three Ironmans, and it's just something else that we like decide to do together and train for that 6 to 12 months and then accomplish together. And then we move on to the next one. But we love having those challenges. So that back to your question, that's filled the gap for sure. And from the men perspective, the guys that I've met at the gym and then the guys at church, we go to Summit that are in some of our small groups that have, invited us to be a part of their small group. And then my wife has a small group with other young ladies, and I have one with other young men. And that's given us kind of like the foundation for what we need to stay grounded, kind of like I said. So those groups have definitely helped a ton. You still have your interactions at work in this hybrid world. And like I said before, when I was at ADP, I loved it because of the people and the people I got to interact with every day. So I still have some of those friendships that I've maintained. But I would say like the core ones that, you just see every day. If you're not at the gym, they're checking in with you. If you didn't put a score up on the workout, they're wondering what's going on. But those are the people you want in your corner because they're the ones that are, motivating you to finish that project or, go do that goal that you're reaching for, or plan that trip, or, don't just fall into the monotony of everyday life.
Have you ever had any like serious injury in all the years of playing sports?
Yeah, I say no until recently.
Until recently?
Until
Wow.
recently, I really hadn't had a ton. Mild concussions, a couple helmet to helmets. I have a turf toe on my right foot, kind of like Steve Smith did, that I need to get like cleaned out, but I don't want to right now because of the rehab, but it needs to happen. So it's just preventing the range of motion. So I can still run, jump, lift. I'm just getting some aches and pains and the scar tissue is building up. So eventually it just needs to be cleaned out so that I can do, full range of motion on my big toe, like calf raises and things like that. It'll impact playing basketball, doing those kinds of things. So that one has been lingering. Last year, I believe it was last year, the year prior, I had a little bout with sciatica, which I wish upon no one. So overworking lower back, hips, and just basically having a strain on my lower back that prevented me from, like moving, walking, sitting, standing without significant pain. So it was the open workouts, and then I think I did another one, and I just felt it and kept working through like pain versus injury. But the next day, I just like couldn't walk. So all up and down my left side, all up and down my knee, like pins and needles. If you hear pins and needles from a doctor, it's not a good thing.
Hmm.
So pins and needles, icing, stimming, adjusting everything. I mean, I had to do acupuncture, I had to do scraping. I was off, working out for like a month and a half, I want to say. And it was just like the most sensitive pain in my lower back I've ever felt in my life. So it was kind of scary, like not to
Hmm.
the level of like, you're paralyzed or something, but to the level of like shock up your spine and your spinal cord. So I had that. I just had to rest, man. I had to rest and stretch, and I'm still careful about some of my heavy lifts.
Hmm.
And then I played basketball 2 or 3 weeks ago, man, and I went out there like Pete Maravich and tried to just not take any breaks whatsoever. And, I was a decent basketball player back in the day. I can still dribble and shoot and pass, but after like 3 or 4 games, your ankles start to fall off. So
Yeah.
my left knee it was a little swollen. So I stayed easy on the squat rack. So I say I haven't been injured, and now I'm telling you about my injuries, but nothing to the level of surgery in middle school on my finger that I just broke, like chipped a little bit, but nothing
Hmm.
crazy. Like some of my friends that have done their knees and their
Yeah.
MCL, ACL, like challenging. My oldest brother's in joint replacement, so I've seen some crazy catheters, but I mean, knock on wood
Yeah.
that I haven't. I would say I've focused a lot more lately on my diet and my mobility, and I'm seeing my chiropractor and massage therapist at the gym or right down the street from the gym because they're a part of that community as well, and they make it
Mhm.
really easy for you to get plugged in with a schedule. So I'm doing that like, once every couple weeks, and I got an ice bath in the back that I'm in, almost every day. So I'm trying, but I know that window is shrinking.
Yeah, I've interviewed on this podcast a wide range of ages, and it's not a surprise to anybody listening to this that we lose abilities as we get older, right? And
Mhm.
whether it's 35 versus 25 or 65 versus 45, I mean, there is some degrading that can happen, but you mentioned it a second ago. You just have to shift. Like it's not only a set shift, but it's a shift in how you take care of your body. No one's body in their 30s and 40s is as resilient as it was at 20 years old, right?
Right.
You could do the same thing. It's going to hurt a lot worse. And I think it seems that the people that stay flexible and mobile, maybe not necessarily, the strongest or most athletic, but if you have that mobility and enough strength, I've got a couple of people come to mind that are in their 70s, are long distance backpacking and summiting 14ers and mountain climbing and they're doing it because they took care of their bodies as the body changed, right? And
Yep,
so it it changes the adventure, I think. And
for sure.
the thing that I have seen other people struggle with is trying to still do what their 25-year-old self did and doing it less and less well. And then the
Yep.
frustration that comes along with that.
Right.
There's been several books written about that, whether it's, our intelligence changes over as we age, or our physical body changes. And the people that suffer are the ones that try to hold on, right?
Yep.
Rather than adapting. And you seem like you've spent your years either by choice or by requirement adapting to whatever the new situation was, and it seems to have served you well, even though you haven't had any major injuries. I still think it sounds like you've learned many of the same lessons that people that suffered through really severe injuries had to learn as well: perseverance and grit and getting through hard things. So I'm curious so you mentioned it just a second ago, you just got back from outdoors in Glacier and fishing and hiking and watching rodeos and doing the whole Western cowboy kind of thing.
Yep.
Is that where do you see those kind of things playing into more of your life moving forward as you grow your family? Or I don't want to say what's on your bucket list, but what are the things that you're really interested in pursuing at this point in your life?
Yeah. Man, I think those events will only increase because we've slowly realized, with the help of two of our best friends, Kirby and Caitlin, that there's even more from a national park, hiking, not music festival, but rodeo. We went to Cheyenne to Frontier Days, which was
Oh, did you
incredible, the
really?
granddaddy of them all. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't
that's a big
know the
deal.
background of Cheyenne and how 150 or 140 years or something they've been doing it. But we went for the country aspect and the performers, and then the rodeo that we just fell into, that Kirby and Caitlin love so much, that we now are like, heck yeah, we got bronc busting and freaking roping and barrel racing and
Yeah.
mutton busting and all these things. But it really is just a cool lifestyle, and it's cool to see how they go all over the country and even other parts of North America and South America too, to do these So I say they would absolutely increase. We love exploring. We love traveling. We've got our wall. You can't see it, but over on the side, for those folks listening, we've got our map of the world and the places that
Okay.
need to be stuck in from
Yeah,
Bora
yeah.
Bora on our honeymoon. We were scuba diving to, you know, going out west to these national parks to get engaged at Zion National Park, which made us name our puppy Zion and
Oh,
love
cool.
national parks even more. So yeah, we definitely want it to be a huge part of his life. We want him to get outdoors. We love
What
being on
is
the
it
water.
about the travel and the parks
Yeah.
that you think is important?
I think it's just being in a new environment and realizing, no matter where you are in the religious spectrum, right? Like you can appreciate the beauty of God and nature, and it can make you ask questions about things or think about things. And
Yeah.
I think we love experiencing that. And it is challenging. It was challenging after having a kid to hike 10 miles, and I didn't have the kid, right? So my
Hmm.
wife, shout out to Jenna, just absolutely crushing it. But being out of breath and hiking and rucking with 30 pounds of a 20-pound baby or 5-pound equipment on you
Yeah.
just makes you appreciate things more. And I think seeing the beauty in nature, and especially out west, some of these glacial, peaks is really, really cool. And so, I mean, I didn't know this. There's hundreds of national parks, right? You think about like, oh, there's Grand Canyon and Everglades and Smokies, and there's maybe like a couple dozen. No, no, there's like hundreds, like I think 500 and something. So we love that. We want that to be a part of it. And it's kind of cool to look forward to, right? Like again,
Yeah.
you're getting in your routine, you're working and you're spending your nights and weekends, having dinners with the family and maybe one or two adventures. And then the rest of the time, right? Like, are you planning on another trip, or are you saving up that vacation, or are you researching the hikes at this place so that you have
Hmm.
something to, like, her family's really big into it too. So the group chat and the hikes and we can go to this place or go to this place for lunch. That kind of stuff is cool too. They're just core memories, I think, that
Yeah.
you create.
What I think you mentioned it with the rodeos and being out there, but what's your take on the meeting the different people in the different parts of the world that you've been?
Yeah. I mean, I love it. So I lived in
Are you
Australia for a
extrovert? Like,
year.
are you a natural extrovert or introvert?
You can't tell yet. I go talk to a door. I'm that guy that talks to the old guy beside them at the sporting event, about like the season or the lineup or the trade that
Hmm.
just happened. I'm that guy. But yeah, I think, all those things will just help you experience it. So I love meeting random people from all over the place. I'm trying to think of there were a bunch of like Navy guys that were at this saloon we were at that come to this one saloon on their trip every year that has like sawdust on the ground and the big frozen beer mugs and the peanuts, right? So like
Yeah.
just chit-chatting with them. Obviously, when you're holding a baby, people want to talk to you about your baby and Maverick and
Hmm.
Top Gun and all those
Right.
things. But I mean, the people at the rodeo that were just there. So we've been to rodeo with 80,000 people. We've been to rodeo with, a couple hundred people, and people are the same good people just trying to make a living and be
Yeah.
nice to their neighbor, it seems like. So I would feel like the people that you meet traveling or hiking or at these events are kind of like you in a lot of ways, but also people that you don't think necessarily you would talk to, right? Like me and you.
Yeah.
But you're just like, hey, dude, this music's really good. Where are you
Yeah.
from? And you just start up those conversations. So I would say we've met a ton of people like that. And I think you start to realize the world's a really big place, right? Like Raleigh growing like crazy, amazing. There's some other really cool places too. And I was in Italy for a month in college studying abroad too. So that opened up my perspective. I've been, I think, to 10 or 12 different European countries, and then obviously Australia for a year. So I love America, don't get me wrong. I'm
Mm.
probably the most patriotic guy you'll ever meet. But I also love exploring other places, however I can do that. So yeah.
Have you found as different as, maybe cultures can be in different parts of the world, have you found the humanity to be fairly similar to yourself and the people that you grew up around?
Yeah, for sure. I would say for the most part, they're very family oriented. Obviously, there's different religions and lifestyles that are thrown in there. But America's been and will continue to be, I hope, like the shining light, the beacon that everyone compares himself to, good, bad, or ugly. So when I was over in Australia, I was overcoming a couple stereotypes in terms of, you know, what America is and, LA, New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like McDonald's, the Starbucks, right? Like the things that some Americans love and some Americans are like, yeah, you could do better. But overwhelmingly, they wanted to follow our music, our culture, our sports, our clothing, all of those things. And it was just funny to hear whether it was the news outlets that they had over there or their spin on things compared to the accuracy here and what they thought about all Yanks, right? Yankees, all Yanks coming from America, and the difference between Northerners and Southerners, just as an example, right? Like, so and we had the same misnomers about them, right? And Outback Steakhouse is
Mm-hmm.
nothing like anything over in Australia.
What?
um
Are you serious?
but but some people think it is. No, but like how much they love their sport and backpacking, and they don't necessarily go to uni right after school. They encourage travel and life experience and
Oh,
internships and trade schools and things like that. So different perspectives on like education and like the quintessential American life, the American dream, those types of things. So yeah, I would say like I love traveling and meeting people because more times than not, if they're at one of those things, like they're not looking for trouble, they're looking for a good experience or a memory
yeah.
or a conversation.
I've had several interviews, including the last couple that I've released, that were really kind of had stories of world travel and unique stories in and of themselves, like crazy unique. One guy is delivering letters from this ancient post box in the Galapagos Islands that people drop mysterious letters into. He's taken 50 of the letters and hand delivering them to people around the world in a goal
Wow.
of connecting humanity one letter at a time. That's his motto. Which is it's such a cool
Cool.
story. Like, how does somebody come up with that, right? But what he kept saying over and over again is you no matter where he goes in the world, he realizes we're in a lot of ways we're all the same. Like we're all
Yep.
very similar. We love our family. We like you said, the cultures are different, the religions may be different, but there's a lot more that connects us than there is that divides us
Yep.
from a global humanity. And the podcast that just released this morning, the guy Clay Sanders did this. He called it Story Trek, where he spent a year. He only bought a ticket to the next place. He never bought a ticket to the next place. So he had to like one thing at a time, and he had just like a school backpack. That is the only thing he took with him for 5 months. And he just hopscotched around the world. And the whole point of it was to capture stories. So in some ways, it's like what you've described yourself as. You go somewhere to a coffee shop or sit at a bus station and you just pick up a conversation. And he said the things that he learned about people around the world just from doing that were unreal. And I'm a pretty committed introvert and work hard to not get stuck in a shell. So the idea of sitting down at a sporting event or a bus stop and just picking up a conversation with the person next to me, like I usually don't want to do that. I'm the
Yeah.
guy that gets on the airplane and puts my AirPods in, and I see everybody else kind of chit chatting. But at
Yeah.
the times, and I took away from his story too that you don't have to go to Germany, you don't have to go to Bora Bora to have these like to pick up your head and have a conversation with the person you're sitting next to. You can do it in
Right.
Raleigh. You can do it in
Yep.
San Francisco. You can do it in Montana. And that was a big takeaway for me is that if really we want to, I want to connect with humanity and connect with my neighbors in a way that's more than just superficial. It for me as an introvert, it's going to take a little bit of effort to just pick my head up and ask somebody a question. And I think it sounds like for you, that comes a little bit more natural, but it also seems like you've done that everywhere you've gone and the
Right.
people that you've met.
Yep. For sure. For sure.
Well, so you've got a lot to look forward to with a 9-month old. And as a dad of four, that mine are 15 to 20. So I've been through that stage. I got the t-shirt. It ain't for the faint of heart. But as Maverick gets older, you are going to have these opportunities to go do things together. Instead of him on your back, it's going to be him by your side. And that's when it gets cool, man.
Yeah.
That's when, he starts having a personality and opinions, and then when he gets to the point of being able to outdo you at all these things, that's a
And I'm in
shifting point for
trouble.
sure. Yeah.
And I'm in trouble. Hang on to
So,
that one as long as I can.
right, right. So I'm excited for you because you've got a lot to look forward to, but I think you've got, as you mentioned earlier, your mindset of gratitude and the ability to work hard and persevere through tough things. There's a lot that's going to be thrown at you in the coming years, maybe much harder than anything you've done up to that point. But it's all those things that build. And I hear this in the stories over and over again. It's never the guy that hiked Everest, and I interviewed a guy that has summited Everest 18 times.
Wow.
That guy did not just, his name's Kenton Cool. Kenton did not just wake up one day and go, I'm going to go climb Everest, right? It took years of preparation, years of struggling and trying and failing and trying and failing. So, all that to say, whatever comes at you, I feel like you do have the grounding and the experience in your life up to this point to figure out a way through it. And so I'll wrap it up here for you and just say, if adventure is different, means different things to different people. And I've certainly in almost 30 interviews at this point, it is a wide range of what the everyday explorer looks like.
Yeah.
But as you think through your next 30 or 40 or 50 years, what do you want adventure to mean, and how important do you want that to be in your life?
Yeah, man, I want it to be critical. I want it to be not constant, but annual in terms of something that we're doing or some new place we're going, new hike we're challenging ourselves with. So I want it to be huge, but like you said, you can also do it anywhere, right? Like, so whether you're adventuring in your town and trying something new, or, you know, picking up on a Saturday morning instead of going to your favorite brunch spot and going and serving, right? Like at a, food kitchen. Or I feel called more after getting plugged back in with church to do like local missions and even like a mission trip overseas or internationally. I think would be really cool. So I feel like that could be a new form of adventure for us, but I want it to be constant. Like if I don't have something to focus on or work on, or a goal or a sales goal or a target or a weight PR that I want to hit, like I feel aimless. So I have to always have something that I'm like training for, trying to do or accomplish, or, I want to get better at my golf game. I want to get better at this, power clean. I want to get better at my mile time. So I feel like that's a form of adventure for us. It'll always be constantly evolving or constantly growing, right? Like you accomplish one challenge, what's next, basically. So we're talking about when kid number two comes versus we're itching for another race, but it takes 6 to 8 months to train for one. So Coeur
Yep.
d'Alene, Idaho is
That's a good
next
one.
summer, but we got friends out there that we'd love to visit. So we'll see.
Yeah, we didn't get much into your triathlon, but I do find it's not an everyday connection that people jump from CrossFit into these endurance sports like triathlon or
Right.
long distance stuff. Was that just by accident, or did you have someone else that pulled you into it and you realized you enjoyed it?
Yep. Wilson Fowler.
Okay.
Shout out to Wilson. Haven't seen him in a little while. His uncle status is still to be determined for Maverick, but he was
That
on the
seems like a
cycling.
little shaming plug right there.
And he's a Carolina guy too. Fun fact.
Okay.
I'll see him
Then
at
he's a
the
good guy.
State Carolina game on Thanksgiving. Every year we go. And it's been good for us the last few years.
Yeah, thank you
So
for that.
he was on that cycling team at App State and was a stud. Played football with me in high school. Went to App State, joined the cycling team. Is just skinny and wiry and has a motor like none other. Like David Goggins. David Goggins could run a race with this guy, and Wilson would like tear both ACLs before he stopped running. Like they would run for like 3 days straight, and then Wilson
Yeah.
would tear his ACLs, and then he'd
Just
be
keep
like
going.
crawling. He'd be
Yeah.
crawling behind him and be like, "You didn't beat me." That's Wilson. So he was on the cycling team, and he did the Raleigh Ironman,
Yeah.
and I went down there to watch him finish. And he's definitely faster than me, so I can say this. He had like a full body cramp on the last like 200 meters.
Oh,
So like we were screaming for him to finish and he was trying, but his body was literally like giving out. So
yeah,
he needed that nutrition from that other guy. He needed
yeah.
that nutrition. But he just toughed it out and he was like, his leg was straight, but he was like limping towards the finish line. And then I just got to see like the joy on his face from finishing. And I was like, that's awesome. And he was like, we should do one together. So that turned into the Rock and Roll Marathon in Savannah, which was incredible race, but extremely hot, like
Yeah.
very challenging from a temperature perspective. That turned into that, which turned into Monterrey, Mexico, which turned into my first Ironman with my buddy Grant. So Wilson bailed, another reason why we're giving him grief. He bailed at the last minute, but he convinced me to do it. So it's kind of a good salesman. But he didn't do that one. Then we signed up for another one in Cabo, which was really, really fun. Jenna did that
Oh,
one
wow.
with me, but it was super hot as well. So biking on the pavement up and down the mountains was unreal, but the swim in the bay was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And visibility was incredible. And then finally we were like, all right, we're doing a domestic one. We have like 10 people from the gym sign up. So we went down to Galveston, the
Oh,
jewel
wow.
of the jewel of Texas, Galveston. Charles Barkley loves that place. But we flew into Houston, got my cousin, and then drove down to Galveston, and Wilson bailed on that one too. So the moral of the
Wilson,
story,
man, what is going on?
where's Wilson? We've been saying it for years, but he got me involved in
Yeah.
triathlons, and we'll probably do one together. He runs with his wife a ton. We just had the Tobacco Road last year. I think they're doing one. There's one in Wrightsville every year that we always typically do. It's a sprint. That one's really
Yeah.
fun. You can kind of
Yeah.
jump in and do it quickly. And then we already looked at Coeur d'Alene for next year. So yeah, someone will challenge you to do it. It'll be one of your buddies. And then you'll be like, I want to cycle or swim or run, for the rest of my life, in addition to everything else I'm doing from a training perspective. And to
Yeah.
your
It's
point
fun.
earlier, like it helps. And I feel like there's a lot of older, whatever you want to call it, more tenured folks that have found endurance sports to be a big part of their athletic programming.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are things that you can do if you take care of your body. There are things you can do
Right.
for a really long time and still get that. It's the hormonal mix. It's the thing
Right.
that you get across the finish line and that hormonal high. You got that playing football. You got that, doing different things in your youth. You can still do that through a heavy lift or doing a long distance triathlon. And the tries are fun, man. I did sprints for several years, and the longest I did was the Raleigh half. Actually, the first
Yeah.
year that they did the Raleigh, and I cramped in my both my thighs cramped for the entire run. 13
Oof.
miles, just felt like knives were jabbing the whole time. But I finished, and
Nice.
yeah, it it was fun, and I did it with a couple buddies. And I trained with them and
Yep.
raced with them, and that was a big part of it. And at this point, I've haven't done triathlon in a while. What really intrigues me is these long distance trail runs. So I do a lot of trail running,
Yeah.
and some of the 1,500-mile races. One of these days I'd like to get there, because for me that combines two things, which is the exercise, but being in nature and being in the mountains, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
doing those for a really long time, long times at any point, is really cool. And the community around these different things, whether it's Ironman or endurance running or CrossFit, it's the communities are unbelievable. Like
Right.
they're just really authentic people that are doing the things that they love, and that's the name of the game for sure.
Yep.
All right,
So
Owen,
for everyone listening, we're not cult fanatics, but we do love fitness.
I believe you. I've been around CrossFit for a while. It's a legit pursuit. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, if anyone listening wants to connect with you, what's the social media platform? What's the best way to find you?
Yeah, man, I've gotten more and more active on Twitter recently.
Okay.
You can just go to either one. It's Owen_Hayden for Instagram or Twitter, and happy to connect, or on LinkedIn, just Owen Hayden. Yeah, for fitness fanatics or folks that are doing anything out there in the Raleigh area and want to get involved or come check out the gym, they're more than welcome to. I think our basketball league is full, so if you're listening, you're not allowed. But if you have any free ice buckets, I'm over by Crabtree.
There you go. All right, man. Well, I've enjoyed it and really appreciate your time on this Friday morning. And thanks again.
For sure, Josh. Hope to see you soon.
Okay. Man, I really enjoyed that. I hope you did as well. The next one will be coming at you in a couple weeks, so stay tuned. Until then, I hope you have your own great adventure.